Alright guys, this is Zoltan Battery from Five Finger Death Punch, and we are going to talk about my guitars, my rig, my amplifiers, and everything that makes this happen. So let's start with my guitar. I'm playing Dean guitars. This is my signature SK6, which is came from the joke we used to call it Shreddy Krueger, but we couldn't use the name obvious reasons. So we just call it SK6. It's basically it's a super strat, and I'm using passive pickups. I like passive pickups. I like the dynamics of passive pickups. I don't like the squashed tone of the active ones. I'm using passive pickups, and I use very heavy strings. Basically, the string set is 13 to 66, and I'm tuned to B, so I needed those heavy strings to stay in a playable tension with the guitar, even though it's a 24 fret, but it can handle it. And because I play such a heavy string set, I usually set up my equipment to the threshold where I control my guitar and my guitar sound, the overdrive and everything with the strength of my picking. Which means, like if you look at these strings, they are such, they're so heavy, and so much metal is moving in front of the pickups that, that I get a pretty serious, signal to noise ratio out of this. The pickups are actually made by Dean. They are, they're custom pickups as well. They're probably closer to the Michael Schenker version, that they make, but, it's about the same resistance. This guitar is a prototype, so made in America, made in the custom shop. If you look at the back of the neck, I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but the coating stops at the 1st and the 22nd fret, and keep the back of the neck sateen. I like how fast that is, just the feel of it. I don't like the coating in the back. So basically, every guitar of mine has the same feature. And everything about it is pretty much, we co-design it with Dean, the neck curvature and everything. I was in their factory for days and days and days, went back several times to just get it right, exactly what I wanted. So this is really made to my specs. From here, pretty much I like organic stuff, so the same idea that I use passive pickups. Between my guitar and my amplifier, there's pretty much nothing. I'm just I'm one of those guys. I plug right in and let's go for the power. Let me put this back before I drop it. All right. So this was Shreddy #1. This was the very first guitar when I went to Dean. This guitar they kind of made and they made it to my assumed spec, so to speak, at the time. So this was the guitar. If you actually look at it, the back of the neck has different, different curvatures, because this is the one that they were experimenting on, and the headstock is also different. I like the pointy one. This is whatever they just used at the time, and the brass knuckles. So basically, this was kind of a welcome guitar. When I went to Dean, this is the one that they made. Like, hey, here's a guitar. Check this out. What do you think? And they already knew that I like certain features in a guitar, such as, the maple neck. It's a neck through guitar, and as you can see, it has the little Ferrari red color, and and the same feature that the coating stops at the 22nd and the 1st. So they kind of made this guitar, and this is where the prototype. It's #1 right here. So this is where the prototype kind of moved forward from. This was a very original version, and it's such a good guitar. They selected the wood very careful and whatnot, so I really love the sound. So even though it's a prototype, I actually use it on stage. This is the one that I'm traveling with. Besides this, I don't have it here since we are in a European tour right now. I have 2 more signatures, which we call them AR6. Those are the ones with the machine gun handle. We don't have them here because we just kind of had to fly in. It's a hit and run sort of scenario. But that's the other one. It's looks like an ML, but it's a little bit more aggressive shapes, and it has a handle like an AR rifle on the top. That's why we call it AR6. Okay, so as I said, I'm pretty, I'm an organic kind of guy. I don't have many things in my signal path. So obviously I use wireless, and wireless system is a Shure ULX-D system. I'm really happy with this system. Took it all over the world. I rarely have any kind of, like, you literally have to have a radio tower next door for this thing to, start to have any kind of interference. And so I'm coming to my wireless, and the first thing in the chain is my MXR Custom Shop gate. I used to use a low paddle. They used to have the Smart Gate Pros. MXR makes them in a tiny paddle form, but but it's just much more efficient to keep it in a rack. So I have those units, and basically it's a gate. It's a very, very good gate that I set to just to catch all the noise and anything that could possibly RF interference, whatever on a on a signal. I catch those, so it's I can really utilize what we were talking about, hitting these heavy strings. That was always my thing. Like, it's complete silence and then full power. That dynamics have to be there, and so this chops off all the noise and all the buzz and anything that could be possibly there. And from there, we going straight into the diamond amps. Now, but before we get there, I'll point out this unit. It's a Furman voltage regulator, and I'll point this out because anybody, touring musicians who are going around the world, or even if you tour locally, this is something that you want to think about. If you use tube amplifiers, the voltage that feeds your tubes is changing. Every house have, just the local electricity, is different. And if your heads, your tubes are getting different voltage, it's going to sound different, Okay, so the Furmans are making sure that the amps are getting the right voltage and it sounds the same everywhere you go. The amplifiers are Diamond Nitrox amplifiers. I selected this amp because since I'm tuned to B, I'm using a lot of low end, and I needed an amp that's capable of, it just doesn't die on that low frequency, which means, this amp has huge transformers in there, and this is almost like a hi-fi amplifier, just in a brute casing, and this was the amp that I selected. It wasn't something I accidentally ran into. I was really looking forward to find something that can do what I wanted to do, and this amplifier can handle all my low-end, savagery. And actually, Diamond, the company, called me when they developed this amp, like, hey, we got your number, man. This is the amp you want, And I'm really happy with it. I'm using it for 5-6 years now. My signature model of this amp is coming out. The difference between this and that one is that this MXR unit is licensed and actually built into the amplifier. However, it's built into between the preamp and the amplifier, which, there's no way you could insert there anything the way we inserted it. So that noise gate can be extremely efficient. Same idea here, you know what I mean? That I use low gain anyway because I'm picking really fast, complicated patterns and whatnot. I want you to hear every note. So therefore, my gain is fairly low, but this amp has that brutish power even there, And there is the noise gate, so it's really emphasized that that noise to that low silence need to be there between notes. If your gain is really high, that creates it hides mistakes, of course, So people like to have a high gain, but but the definition is gone. So that's why I'm using these guys, and I'm switching the heads with a basically a TC Electronics G system. And the TC Electronics always had really nice effects. I only use effects for some leads, a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a tiny bit of chorus, and maybe a little bit of a reverb, but not much. I use it for for some leads and some melodic parts. But this unit, which is connected to my pedal, can switch the amps analog. So I don't have any MIDI, stuff that creates those delays and whatnot. So basically, the TC Electronics, beside being a bulletproof unit and sounds really nice, it can also switch the heads in an analog way. Finally, it all concludes here. This is the cabinet I'm using, Diamond. These are X pattern cabinets actually. So what that means is you could have greenbacks in the cabinet, Celestion greenbacks, or you can have the modern speakers, and they sound differently. And what I did with the cabinets, I have an X pattern, which means I have both the greenbacks and the moderns are in there, in an X pattern, because the greenbacks I felt, they sound really nice, and you can, for leads and all that, it's just creamy, and it has that vintage classic sound. So it's perfect for that, but it's a little bit lazy. So if you want to play machine gun like rhythms, as we were talking about it before, I need something fast, and the modern speakers are much faster. They have a much quicker response. However, they are a little bit, they're lacking some of that creamy tone that I need for that warmth. So this way I have both of them in there. I kind of married the two worlds. So these are my custom diamonds. Actually, they are available this way in the next pattern. So you can have this particular cabinet if you wanna split your sound that way. So it's available. Alright guys, so this is the last piece in my equipment, and I guess that concludes it all. So thank you for coming out and checking out my rig.
Hi, what's going on? It's Jason Hook here from Five Finger Death Punch. We are in London, and I'm going to give you a rig tour for Total Guitar. Let's start with this guy. This is my main electric. Obviously, you may or may not know, but this is my signature Gibson Explorer, the M4 Sherman Jason Hook model, and I'm very proud of this guitar. It's a modification of their standard Explorer. This one has some features that, in my opinion, make it a little easier to play, and it's a little bit more hot-rodded than the standard. Let me spin this around. Right here, I had them scoop this wood out here so that you can sort of get all the way up to the top frets. That's kind of important for anyone who's a lead-oriented player, and the ability to reach all those frets and while you're playing your solos. That's important. So I had that scooped out, and then there's like a 45-degree forearm contour here, or a bevel, just for comfort. I always thought that right angle was a little uncomfortable for me coming over that to get to the bridge. So I had them do a 45 there. It's loaded with, let's see, this is a JB, Seymour Duncan JB. The most popular pickup out of their entire catalog. This is their most sold pickup. That's not why I picked it though. It sounds the best, and I tried every single one of them. That's a JB. This is a 59. I hardly ever use the front pickup. I had them pick it out for me because they said it's a nice complement to the JB. Plastic conduit covers the wires, nothing fancy. Three-way toggle, and there you have it, the M4 Sherman. Okay, moving along. This one is exactly the same. It's my backup. I have several of these at home. This just happens to be the second one I travel with in case something goes wrong with the first one. Nothing fancy, just another one. Dun, 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 dun. Let's go over here. This is kind of neat. This is a guitar that a friend of mine in Vegas built for me. A fellow named Rod Miller at RM Guitar Works. RM, of course, for Rod Miller. And I guess on the surface it just looks like a black version of my signature guitar, but it has LEDs that have been routed into the body. And I can turn it on and it lights up like this. So this is my throwback to good old Ace Frehley, who is my favorite guitar player. And it's interesting because it has 4 or 5 different sequences that you can select from. So that would be sequence number 1, that's no sequence, There's a sort of a backwards and a forwards sequence. And then this one's kind of like a full-on DEFCON 5 Meltdown Berserker sequence. And each setting, I have a control here for the speed, so I can adjust the speed depending on what kind of mood I'm in. So anyway, that's my Las Vegas guitar. Really cool, really cool. Well, if we're gonna pick another guitar to look at, let's pick this one. This is, obviously the custom stuff is always the most interesting. Oh! This is a heavy guitar. This is the only one of its kind. Gibson made this for me specifically to take out on tour with Five Finger Death Punch. This is my double neck Explorer, Gibson Explorer, M4 Sherman heavyweight tank. How do you like that? Anyway, what's cool about this, not only is it the only one of its kind, I don't think Gibson's never made a double neck Explorer before, but this one actually, this one you can pull apart for ease of travel. Like let's say we had to fly somewhere and I wanted to take this with me, it actually has two separate hard shell cases. You just sort of, like a road case, you just unbuckle these and it pulls apart. There's two steel rods that come through the middle and that's it. So it's really cool and heavy and it sounds real good. And I have it set up with B to B standard on the bottom, which is baritone tuning, which is basically everything we do in Five Finger Death Punch. And then on the top neck, it's D standard, so I can play some of the solos on the record I played in a higher pitched guitar. So that allows me to play the solos up here in a comfortable zone, and it's a little slinkier. And then it's a little beefier down here for the rhythms, and that's basically it. This is my B rig, and for anybody who needs to know the definition of a B rig, it's we're in UK now, and I have a rig that lives over in Europe and UK so we don't have to keep shipping the stuff back and forth. This is a B rig. So anyway, the B rig's a little smaller than the A rig. The A rig utilizes a bunch of Marshall heads, and so this is basically designed for lightweight and portability, and therefore we're using these amp modeler units, which I'm sure most people are familiar with. This is the Fractal Axe-Fx 2. And basically I have it dialed up as a JCM 800 with an overdrive pedal in front of it, and it sounds pretty close. It sounds pretty close. Not as good as the real thing, but definitely a lot cheaper when it comes to the airlines, you know what I'm saying? Going down the system, I have my little effect switcher, which conveniently sticks on this drawer here. And he can select from basically, well, actually, all the effects are in the Axe-Fx, keeps things real clean and simple. I have a synth thing here for Mama Said Knock You Out. It's like a wow, like a weird thing. We don't talk about this company because they dissed me. And this Shure wireless, it's a 4-in-1, which is very space efficient when it comes to fly dates. So if I had to go play like a gig in Russia, we just hop on the plane, we pull this guy, and it just fits in a little thing. Oh yeah, and I'll point out that all this stuff is run through the Matrix Power Amp, which is a wonderful new product from the UK. It sounds like tubes, and it's lightweight and one space. It's beautiful. So that's it, basically real simple, and the rest of the stuff is for backup. And that's kind of it. Real simple, I have two Marshall 412s loaded with vintage, Celestion vintage 30s. Pretty straightforward. These are the 1960 vintage bottoms, and they have locking 1/4-inch jacks on the back so nobody can trip and unplug me. And that's pretty much it. I would have heads with these, but not today. That's it. That's my rig. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to go out and pick up your copy of Total Guitar, and we'll see you next time. Bye.